Okay, that's what I figured. I knew you were. All right. So, guys, I'm really excited to have Andy and Bryce on with us tonight. We're going to kind of ping back and forth between them just because, then it's not one person talking the whole time, and I like that format. So, Andy, we obviously know you. If you guys don't know Andy, he was our rookie of the year his very first year in the business. So, $250,000 issue paid easily, no problem. He actually works with Bryce, so he not only is a killer, he brings on killers. So I'm really excited about that. But Andy, for anybody who maybe doesn't know you or they're a new agent, can you just kind of like tell your story and how you got here and what the deal is?
Yeah, so I used to be a financial consultant, lived in Nebraska with Bryce. As far as my 9 to 5 goes, I actually really love my job. I was making over 150 grand a year, which obviously isn't like life-changing money, but I was comfortable. Loved the company I worked for, loved the people I worked with, loved my day-to-day job. But the only thing I didn't have, which is like my end goal in life, is like the time freedom to be able to wake up whenever you want, do whatever you want, go wherever you want. So that was really what transitioned me over here. I was actually traveling with Joseph, who's on the call. I was in Peru and I was just kind of talking about possibly moving out of Nebraska. And he was telling me that what he does gets in life insurance. So it honestly just kind of came full circle. So moved from Nebraska, North Carolina, quit my job, started this going full time.
Yeah, that's crazy. And Andy, I love that too because that's not a lot of our story. So we're going to come back to that in a minute. But most people who, find themselves here, they weren't turning down like a pretty good job opportunity like you had to come do this. So, that's kind of cool. We'll come back to it. Bryce, can you hear me?
Yep.
So, guys, Bryce is done. He's been here a bit. He's sold some insurance. We've always loved him, but over the last 3 months, he's just cranked it up. Like he just went from like, hey, I'm Bryce here to sell some insurance to like, oh, I'm selling insurance, like 35K back to back to back. So, Bryce, for anybody who does not know you, kind of what's your story and how long you've been here and how you found us?
Yeah, so I was actually just looking like how long I've been contracted or got contracted, and it was like 27 months or 28 months ago. So like over 2 years I've been here. Like I was doing in-home with Andy. I flew to North Carolina. Basically, Andy and I grew up best friends, and so I trusted what company he chose to sell insurance with. I've been doing some other insurance, like health insurance for businesses and stuff before this, and so I trusted Andy of what life insurance, carrier companies to go with. Good thing he's pretty smart, but and anyways, I was an accountant before that, so I was an accountant, did people's taxes, audits, working 100 hours a week during tax season, not really having like any work life balance at all. Now obviously, not to say that that's what it's all about, but it is nice to be able to control like when you go all out, when you have that work-life balance. And then I guess kind of going back to how I got to here, I basically just kind of went all in at the beginning of the year. My wife and I went to the convention, and everything's been kind of up from there after that.
Yeah, I love that. And I didn't realize both of you guys were like from super like financial backgrounds. So that's cool. All right, Bryce, let's jump into it real quick and then we'll go back to Andy. We want to get the things because all, people want to know. They want to know the leads, the products, things like that. So we're gonna get those out of the way and then we'll get into some higher level questions. So Bryce, what are, the lead what's the products that you're running? Is it mortgage protection? Is it vet? Is it IULs, final expense? Is it everything? What's your lead spend and the lead type that you are buying right now?
Yeah, so I've done it. I've done it all. I did final expense, did mortgage protection. Now I do IULs, and then also just general life insurance. I spend lead spend probably 1,000 a week, about 4 or 5 thousand a month. Um, and what else?
No, yeah, that was it. Your
Okay.
spend, type you're getting, and then, just some certain products, right? Because some people only do IULs or they only do mortgage. Now, Bryce, why do you do, is there a reason that you chose IULs in general life? Is there, what do you like the best? What's kind of like your reason for wanting to do that?
So yeah, so I think like you really got to believe in what you're selling, otherwise you're not going to sell it at all. So I really believe and think IULs are amazing. They've had impacts on my life, my family's life. Like my sister, for instance, she was able to cash out her IUL and help pay for adopting her two twin boys. And then for myself, I was able to cash out and help buy my first home for IULs that my dad actually set up when we were like 2 years old. So I really believe in the product and love that about it. And then in terms of like why I kind of do the general life as well as I think that's like our bread and butter, and like we sell insurance at the end of the day. And sometimes when you're just doing the IUL specifically, it's like always it's like financial, it's like retirement, all that. And it's sometimes it's nice to go back to your roots. Because I love doing the in-home. I think that that's how you really learn like where these people are coming from, the living rooms they're sitting in, the how important this coverage really is to them. So I think that I like having the balance between the general life and the IUL, to make sure that I'm still selling insurance to people that need insurance only instead of just kind of build that tax, retirement cash value type stuff.
Yeah. No, Bryce, that's actually really cool. And I kind of want you to hit on that again. So I've had agents tell me before, right? Especially if you're young and you haven't seen an IUL work, right? You talked about believing in the product. I've had agents tell me before, like, hey, we're doing these IULs. I like it. I know it's a good product for me because I'm young, but I've never seen one come to fruition. I've never seen anybody take the cash out of theirs. I've never seen what you can really use it for. So can you talk about that for a second? So your dad had IULs for you guys when you were little, that now you've been able to use the money to do stuff in your life.
Yep. Correct. Yeah, my family's always believed in, life insurance. Like my my grandpa ended up getting Alzheimer's and had kind of dementia later on. And when my dad took over his finances, he ended up having 34 life insurance policies. Like he was just buying like whole life policies, like couple of years sometimes. And so like they had to do a bunch of combining of that. But yeah, my dad set these up for us when we were all born with his insurance agent, and he put in like $50 a month, and then upped it to 100. And then when we turned of age, he basically was like, "Hey, here's your insurance agent. Go meet with him and learn about what you have." And so we all met individually and were able to decide, "Hey, do you want to continue to make the payment yourself? Do you want to, cash it out? What And then that's how we learned about him ourselves. Was our dad just kind of set us up and then said, "Here you go." Which was a great learning experience, and now why I leave, or I believe in them so much.
Yeah, I love that too. And also, Bryce, I see you also sell a lot of kids policies as well. So now you're bringing that into the business of, I saw this work for me, let's get your kids covered. So that's really, really cool because a lot of us don't get to see that come to fruition.
No, 100%, 100%. Yeah, I've already sold to friends, family, those kids juvenile policies. And one of them like is kind of a crazy story too, but like I made sure one of my best friends that got his kid an IUL right away, and then literally like 6 months later, they found out that like he's going to become deaf and blind by the age of 20, and now he already has this policy already set up. So it was like really cool. Like it's just a really cool story to be able to tell other people about like, hey, this is like how powerful this can be for your kid if something like this does happen. So it's pretty cool.
Yeah, that's huge. And from the health standpoint of, you can qualify when you're really young, so you should get them when you're really young.
Exactly.
That's awesome. I love that. Okay, Andy, real quick. Well, it doesn't have to be real quick. You can take as long as you want. You can talk the rest of the call if you want. But what about you? What is you've kind of done a little bit of everything, but your leads, your products, what's your scenario?
Yeah. So I started final expense, transitioned to mortgage protection, and then about 3 months ago, I actually went all in on IULs. So I'm basically 100% IULs as in the last 3 months. Lead spend is right around about 1,200 a week.
Okay. And Andy, I wanna ask you now, are you doing mostly social media leads like Facebook IUL
Yep.
leads?
Yep. That's basically like 95% of my business.
95. Okay, now I want to ask you, now everyone has a different opinion on this. So guys, this doesn't mean go away from this call and run away. We're just and tell your mentor, right? We're just asking different people how they got the success. Andy, do you think that it was helpful for you to start on final expense? If you had a new agent come in right now, would you put them right on IULs, or do you think it not matters? What do you think?
For me personally, I think it helped with final expense because you get a feel of like what our clients are about. So like that was definitely like so my past job, I was dealing with people who like millionaires, and now I come to people who like don't even have bank accounts. So that was like a big transition for me. So like that was a good kind of first kind of dip my toe into this, but and then as it kind of transitioned, I definitely like IULs better just based on the conversations. I know it's not investing, but kind of in that realm of growing your money, retirement income, stuff like that. So I definitely do like IULs better. As far as getting new agents involved, It kind of depends. I don't have like when I do bring on a new agent, I don't have, hey, you got to do final expense, you got to do IULs. I kind of figure out what it is that they're, how much time they're trying to put in, what it is income wise that they're trying to make, and then kind of go from that way. I think IULs are a little bit tougher to start when you if you don't have any sort of sales or any sort of background. So I do think final expense or mortgage protection is probably a little bit easier to start for new agents.
Yeah, or even Andy too, like if someone is super, super uncomfortable on the phone, like it's not a big deal if you grab a batch of final expense leads just to like get the feel for just talking to people, right?
Yeah,
Like that's not a big deal.
it's very easy to sell final expense mortgage protection by just following a script. So like when you're new, I think that is probably the way to go.
Yeah, I like that. Now what's your schedule? So how many, I mean, if you do 250 a year or more, you're working a lot, you're doing 25 minimally every single month. What does your schedule and the hours look like that you're actually putting into this thing on the phones?
So I'll be honest, like I'm usually out of the country for like 3 to 5 months a year. So when I'm out of the country, I don't really, it's like, no, 10 hours a week maybe. But when I'm working full time here, it's usually about 9 to 8. So like 9 a.m. usually clock in, 8 p.m. usually is my last appointment of the day.
So it's like when you're on, you're really on.
Yeah.
And then when you're off, you want to be off. And I think that's cool. So how do you manage that? That was one of the things that I want to ask you about because I feel like a lot of agents come in and it's the opposite, right? They're trying to have all this work-life balance and balance everything with their family, and then all of a sudden it's like I'm not making any money. So how do you get your brain to be like, if I want to have any freedom over here, I have to go 9 to 9 every single day when I'm home?
So I usually say the same thing when I hop on these trainings, but first and foremost, like it's crazy to me the amount of people that do not track their numbers in this business. Like if you're going to be a business owner, you have to track your numbers. So that's just like no question. So that's something I've always been good at is knowing exactly where how much I'm spending, my income, profitability. So that way I kind of know, what I have to work with. But like as far as like when my biggest passion in life is traveling, like the stuff I've been able to see and experience, that is kind of what drives me. So like when I am home and I am working, like I go, I go full time balls to the wall, I guess, when I'm working. So I do have that flexibility to travel when I can.
Yeah, I think that's cool. And that also has to, I mean, like you talked about, like having a mindset too. That has to be your mindset, guys, too, is what are the things, like you said, traveling and be able to experience the world is the thing that's important to me. And so I sacrifice what I have to be able to do those things, right? So a lot of times, like for anybody on this call, you have to decide what your why is and the things that are important. And a lot of times you let the things, like people always say, like, don't let your why affect your why, right? So you let the things that you should be sacrificing so that you can have more time with those things, you let those things get in the way, right? Like that's like we talk about the holidays, and it's like, well, I have to spend the holiday with my family, and it's like, but aren't you doing this for your family? So if you're doing this for your family, let's grind it, so you can have the really really important time with them. Does that making sense?
Yeah, for sure. Like, I think it's so important to really understand like what you're trying to get out of this business. Like, some people get in this bit, like everyone wants to make more money, right? Majority of people who come here, like they're from a worse situation, trying to make more money. But like, whether if your goal is to be a millionaire, if you want to just make a couple 100,000, go travel, whatever you want to do, like figure out what exactly you want out of this business. And then the second step is to figure out the sacrifices that you're going to put up to be able to accomplish that. So like if your goal is to make 30, 40, 50 grand a month, and you're working 40 hours a week, that's probably not going to happen. Like you got to figure out, you won't be able to go out with your friends Friday night. You're going to have to work 4th of July, other holidays. So like figure out exactly what it is you want out of this business. And then second step is you got to figure out the sacrifices you're willing to take to accomplish that.
Yeah, and I think that's really important because I don't think, like, even when I got into the business, I didn't know. Like I did not have my sight set on like, oh, I want to grow this big team, and all. Like it was just like, let me just go sell. And I wish that I had had that conversation sooner with myself. Like, what is it that I'm actually trying to accomplish in this business? And then you can work towards that goal. A lot of us are just kind of running around and doing what we're supposed to do, but we don't know what we're actually working towards. So I think that's super important to set those expectations for yourself. Bryce, are you pretty much working the same hours, or what's your schedule look like for what you're really pouring into this weekly?
Yeah, my schedule, well, it's a little changed now that I have a child, but now it's like, get in similar to Andy, 9 o'clock. And then I'm going till 8 p.m. at night. And mainly because like those are the time, right? The late at night, the weekends, those are the times when like the other agents aren't working. And like every day that I wake up and do this, I'm like thinking to myself, okay, I just outlasted one other agent or outlasted one other competitor. Um, and so I'm always trying to do different things and try different things that are gonna, kind of separate myself in terms of that. But the standard is to work as much as I can. And I just kind of set that with my family of like, hey, this is when I'm working, and when I'm home, and kind of go from there.
Yeah, that's huge. And I want to ask you about that. So Bryce, congratulations, because you guys had a baby, which is awesome. And I want to talk about your mindset when it comes to this, because a lot of times people will be like, well, I had a baby, so I haven't really been working. Now I know it's different for mom and dad, so don't come for me and be like, I know moms are different and you actually birthed the baby, and I get that. Okay. So, but a lot of times, Bryce, we see big events happen in people's lives and they're like, well, I've been over here dealing with this, so I can't work. Now you're like, you're pouring into it more. So what does that look like, and how did that like switch for you?
Yeah. So like like I kind of said earlier, basically like when I decided to go all in on this, it was probably like January, February. So went out to a convention, brought my wife, and like it was just kind of like an eye opener of like her being there and listening and all that. And there's actually a kind of a good story that I always tell that I'll never forget is that the day and a half in, she's like, "Hey, I'm gonna go back to the Airbnb and like relax for a little bit." And I'm like, "Okay, like you're pregnant, you're probably tired." She's like, "No, actually, it's just that like everybody just keeps saying the same thing, like they already have it figured out." And I was like it kind of hit on like she like dang, she gets it. Like you just literally listen to whatever they say, do whatever they say. Like it's repeatable. And so like after that, I just like got home and I'm like, okay, I'm gonna do that. Like if my wife can like understand it, like better than I can, I'm just gonna listen to her. And so like for instance, she's like, hey, I'll start asking questions, talking to her about things, and she's like, well, what does Andy say? What does Des say? What does Marissa say? And it's like, okay, yep, you're right. I just need to ask them because they do it. And so basically, went all in from there. It was just kind of like doing okay, like just getting by, 8,000, 12,000 months, um, paying the bills, paying the leads, all that stuff. And then it was like, we set a date for like when hey, the baby's going to be here by then. And I'm like, okay, like I'm going to go as hard as I can, like up until that, because I know like I could get a call any minute that like my wife's going into labor. And so I literally was like, I'm gonna call every single lead I have, every no-show, everybody that I think I can make a sale on. I'm just gonna call them right now because I maybe could be a couple weeks, if it could be a couple months. Like I don't know what's gonna happen in the next, right? And so I literally would just like put my back against the wall and just went all that out for like 17 days, I think it was. And once we found out what the date was, and that's when things just kind of went from there. Um, yeah.
Yeah, I love that. So your wife went to convention and she's like, you're going to work, basically, is what I'm hearing. No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah, exactly. Well, because I was always like talking crazy, like, oh, like we're gonna be rich, we're gonna, and she's like, probably like, okay, like when's this gonna happen? Like, let's get it going, right? And so I took her to convention, and she was just like, like she's super real and super blunt, and was just like, they already have it figured out. Like, just do what they say. Like, it's pretty simple. Like, they all say the same thing: buy leads, call the leads, follow up with the leads, have a schedule, have a script. Like, it's pretty easy. So.
I
Once
know.
I
And
just like simplified it because I was like, trying to just do all these, I was trying to skip steps, what I was doing. I was like hiring a dialer before I even knew how to dial. Like literally, I hired a dialer, they're setting appointments. I get to the appointment, like, I don't even know what to say. Like, and I remember like talking to Andy, and Andy's like, so like, are you like, when are you dialing? I'm like, I'm not, I'm just showing up to the appointments. Like, I have no idea, I don't know. So that was like a big thing early on is like you cannot skip the steps. Like it's part of the process. Like I get wanting to have that more expensive leads. I get wanting to have like higher intent or like better scripts, better all that. I did all that. I'm that person that tried to skip it all, thought I knew more than everybody else, and that is not how it is. So would be probably my biggest advice. Yeah, Diego, Coach Dion got her ready. Yeah, she made sure to come back for Dion because she wanted to see him. So.
that's funny. No, but that is so true, Bryce. And even like planning these calls, like it is hard because I love having the training calls. I love having everybody on. Obviously, like, but at the end of the day, everyone is saying the same thing. So even sometimes I'm like, it's like, who's the best person to get on and say the same thing this week? Who's the best person to get on and say, because it is, there's no secret sauce. Every single person who's ever been successful in the business says the same thing. We buy leads, we call the leads, we have to learn the process. At first, you kind of suck, then you get better, then you got to track your numbers, just like Andy says. If you don't know your appointments, you can't, and you don't know how many leads you're calling and how many presentations you did, you can't ask for coaching. Like, there's really not anything special anyone ever says. So that's a super good point. And like even when we plan these, it's like you want to highlight everyone, and there's so many other people that are doing good that can get on here. But then there's also like I'm like, well, I mean, Bryce and Andy, outside of like a couple little tweaks, that's going to be different. They are going to say the exact same thing that we've ever had on a training call because that's how they've been successful is copy and paste. So that is such a good point. And guys, if you haven't kind of got that by now, or maybe this is your first call or something and you're looking for like the secret sauce, I mean, this is it. This is the secret sauce right here. So it's not this crazy fireworks, insane thing that these guys do. They just show up and go to work and do what everybody else does. So, I love that. Andy, I want to ask you too. So generally, and guys, this is not to be one of those calls that's like, you need to listen to 52 podcasts a day and do 75 push-ups or whatever it is. It doesn't have to be that. But generally speaking, I know some people don't like that stuff, but generally speaking, productive people here are naturally productive in their other part of their life as well. So Andy, I wanted to ask you, like, is there things outside of the business that are like non-negotiables for you that you do every day that help you here?
For sure. So I'm a big routine person. Like I have the same routine before bed, no phone, no TV an hour before, reading, stretching, going for a walk, and then waking up, same thing. Go to bed at the same time, wake up at the same time. First thing I do, go for a walk, get some fresh air, go to the gym. I read, and then also like I try to develop like a new skill, like spend 20, 30 minutes every day. So like right now I'm trying to learn Spanish. So like that's like my nightly and morning
Oh.
routine.
You might have to give us a little something at the end of the
No,
call.
no, 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 no. But no, that's that. I'm like a routine person, so I like to do the same thing every before bed, wake up, hit the gym, breakfast, all that stuff. So all that kind of plays in a way of kind of getting my day started off right.
Yeah, and what about, and because I know that you've asked me too, because I don't really read a lot of nonfiction, but do you read a lot of like development books? I read a lot of fiction.
Yeah, that's basically all I read, more or less.
So do you have like a goal that like one every month or something?
No, I just read about an hour a day, so it just kind of depends how long the books are and stuff. But yeah.
Got it. That's cool. Bryce, do you have anything that you do like in your life that's non-negotiable that helps you here, you think?
One thing that I do is every day I like go through my contacts and like check up on one family or friend that I haven't talked to in a while, just see how they're doing. That just kind of like brings me out of like work mode or like brings me back to kind of to reality. And then I, try to work out and do all that stuff as well. But with the kid, it's a little harder lately to fit everything in. But
Yeah, I love that. And guys, I don't ask that to just like tell you what to do or anything. It's just what I've seen from my experience in the business is generally the people who are top producers here or that are really, really productive people, they have other stuff. So I'm telling you that maybe like if you're not where you're at, and maybe there's other areas of your life where you're like, hey, if I can add this, like, hey, if I add a walk every single day and I make sure that I can develop that habit, well then you're probably capable of developing the dialing habits. You're capable of developing, let's sit down at my desk and dial when I don't want to. You're capable of developing the discipline to work on 4th of July or whatever it is. You're capable of, other things. So I just tell you that of like there's maybe some other things in your life that you can change that can help you in this business as well. Because I'm the same way. I know that I have my most productive days in the business when I do my other stuff. And if I miss those things, my business life struggles. Like if I miss my walk or I miss my workout or I don't get to do the things that I like to do that make me feel healthy and happy, then my whole day for work is like I didn't get anything on my to-do list done. It's just weird how that works. So I just want to give you guys kind of that piece of advice. I know these two guys are big on that as well. Okay, so Andy, I want to talk a little bit about your finance background. So a lot of times what you were doing before this was probably a lot higher level than this, and that can be really hard coming from like, hey, I was in finance and then you come over here. This is probably a little bit lower level. So how do you kind of train people to understand that it is not really super complicated? It's not really hard to learn, or is it hard to learn, or what do you think?
No, I think it's like you hear all the time how like simple this business is. Like it's not easy. Like there's tough days, a lot of work involved. But like right, you guys were talking about this earlier. They say the same thing. Bryce talking about convention. Like it's very simple. You buy leads, call leads, and follow a script. Like it's not a hard thing to do. So like yeah, having that background definitely helped, and especially now dealing with IULs is kind of in the same realm of having that conversation. But no, I don't think it's at all. I don't think it's at all hard to do.
Yeah, and what are some of the things because you like learning about the products or like let's say you hear a new agent because this happens a lot. New agent comes in there like I'm so overwhelmed by all the information. How did you learn that? Like how did you learn about the products? Did you go figure it out on your own? What were you plugged into? Like what's your recommendation for a new agent that's like this is too much information. I don't know what to do.
So do some sort of like training every day. So like when I eat breakfast and lunch every day, instead of like I used to like watch TV or something, listen to music, but now like I will throw on some sort of training, whether it's a T&L podcast or a little YouTube video. Like I just have that on the background when I'm kind of doing stuff. So I think that goes a long way.
Yeah, and one thing too about Andy, guys, and this just will help you guys too, is he's really self-sufficient. Like if he needs to know, like he'll ask questions, but he didn't come in and rely and say, "Hey, Joseph has to know all the answers because Joseph brought me in." And every single time I need to text Joseph or ask Marissa exactly what to do, like Andy will go. He'll go call the carriers. He'll go on a training, like he said, he'll go whatever. And I think that's really important because a lot of agents when they come in, or like let's say Bryce comes in with Andy, you think Andy has to have the answer for everything. And you have to understand, guys, that this business is ever evolving. Like Andy can ask me a question right now and he knows the answer and I don't know the answer. So just because I've been here longer or just because I'm, technically the upline or whatever it is, there's a lot of stuff Andy knows that I don't know because Andy went to figure it out.
Yes. So I'll say this, dude. When I first started, my first 2 months in this business, it was before I was on your team. So my boy Joseph recruited me. He was living off in like Bangkok or something, like 13-hour time difference. So like that was kind of hard to communicate. I had absolutely no one. Like I like my that Joseph was the only person I knew in this business. Didn't know a single other person. So like the only help I had, it was me and the underwriting genie. That was my homie. Like that was the only person that was helping me out. So like when I was going in homes and I had no one to call to like figure stuff out, it was so like when people like complain about their mentor or their upline, I have no sympathy towards them because like this is a business that you can figure it out.
Yeah, and Andy, talk about being plugged in with the team. So you're obviously can sell a lot. You don't really Bryce can sell a lot. You don't really need to be on Zoom every single day. You could be at home selling by yourself. Why are you still like so plugged in with everybody? And do you recommend that for people? What does that look like?
Yeah, I mean, especially if you're not in an office, like there's no reason not to hop on Zoom. One, you're learning from everyone that's on there. So like Bryce said, when you get in person and you're like at a lock-in, you kind of stand what, people's flows are, their scripts that they're using. Same thing on Zoom. Like you're learning from 20 different people at the same time. If you're just sitting in your office by yourself or you're in your bedroom, whatever. So there's no reason not to be on Zoom, if you're not in like an office capacity.
Yeah. And you can, I mean, like you said, you're holding each other accountable. Hold me accountable. If I feel like I have to get on Zoom, I'm like, that's the office I have to go to. Versus like if not, the day can kind of get away.
Right.
And again, guys, same thing. Every single top producer we've ever had on here that has been really successful has said it's because I get on Zoom and dial with the team. So like it's not anything new. Bryce, what about you? What are you think about being plugged in and being on Zoom, or was there something in here that, flipped for you over the last couple months that really took your production? I mean, besides having a baby, I know that was like super important, but that went from, that really just got you all in on this thing.
Yeah, so I've like I said, I've been here for a while. So like I've been on Inspire dials, like I've seen teams being built on there, and then all of a sudden that they have their own Zoom. Like I've been like I remember being on Nicole, like me, Nicole, and a couple people in there, and like she would always kick me out because I wouldn't unmute or wouldn't have my camera on. But like it's nice to have like that, like Andy said, like if you're not in an office right now, having somewhere to go and like have like a space of like other people that are having the same experiences as you. They're calling the same people, they're having the same objections. Just hearing those can like help you just as much as you doing it. And like one thing that I had to get over was being able to unmute, being able for people to hear me as well, because it is hard. And Riyadh is really good at like saying, hey, you guys have it good with like 10 15 people. Like he used to have like 100 people on there, and you're trying to like talk over other people and do all that. So it's really a blessing to have that inspire dials that you can hop on, learn, see what's going on, as well as plug into their trainings, plug into the scripts, their resources, because that's been amazing having Des, having Riyadh, and using other people's tools.
Yeah, that's huge. I love that. Now, Bryce, you came from a finance background as well. The reality is there is a lot of different things that you could sell. You could have went into a sales, of something else or even something, higher level. We do IULs, which is awesome, and we do a ton of products and we're best to be brokers, but there are some like pretty high level insurance agents out there that sell really, really large policies only. Like, why do you think that this is the best opportunity? There is a lot of other sales opportunities out there. Can you explain to someone, why you think this is the best one?
Yeah, I think like, at the end of the day, like Sean says, everybody's gonna die. Like everybody needs this. Like people are filling out information, like they're literally asking you for it. And like at the end of the day, it's like not even sales, really. It's literally you're like taking an order. You're helping them get what they need. You just need to find a way to make them think that they need it. or know that they need it, I should say. But it's and also like I think that we have a great access to like a bunch of great carriers. We're able to pivot to different places. Like I know
More?
like, being captive and all that is I'm sure really hard because like how many times do you have to pivot, or you're looking at the final expense grid sheet or term grid sheet, whatever it is, and having those other options, as well as I think like in is why I love FFL, is that you get to follow all these great people, meet all these great people that are all trying to become business owners. All like everybody's running their own business. And so you can bounce ideas off each other, learn from each other. And then also like I feel like everybody just kind of elevates each other at the end of the day because we're not in competition with each other. We're trying to help each other grow.
Yeah, I think that's awesome. And something too that I always like to talk about is like FFL gives you so much autonomy over your business while still providing great structure. So what a lot of people say to me too is they'll be like, I want to run my own business and do my, well, there's other companies that have a rigid structure that's like I can only do one product, I can only do, one type of client, I can only do this, I can only do one type of lead, I can only get my leads from here. And that's like, hey, that's really rigid. And then there's other ones that are like a free for all where no one has any training on anything, they have nothing. So I feel like FFL does a really good job. And if you guys haven't seen this, in other opportunities or whatever, or let's just say you shopped around or you're going to shop around, which is fine, that we really have that balance of like we have great training on everything. If you want to learn mortgage protection, go to YouTube. There's a ton of people selling mortgage protection. You want to go hear from Bryce, you want to hear from Andy, you want to go Spanish, learn from Digna. Digna's got her own little way of doing it. So I go to Digna and she's like, look at this idea I came up with. And she's got all these new ideas that she's doing it and she's crushing it. And it's like the corporate office isn't telling her no, she can't do that. But at the same time, if you want to just come in and plug in, you can do that. So for you guys to understand too, that this really is a good balance of I run my own business and I am independent, but also I have a really good structure to plug into. So that's really cool. Andy, is there something that you feel like something about your sales process that you feel like is like key to your, like if it's an objection or something that you say that really has helped you that these guys can implement?
Um, I'll say something I picked up on like a week ago. I used to have this objection with IULs of after, whether you do it on Crankwheel or Zoom, share your screen and do the illustration. I used to always get the objection of like, hey, can you just email this to me and I'll look it over and get back to you. So like a week or two ago, instead of doing the full PDF, I just show them like I do in basically all my business in LG. So like the introduction where you're actually like drawing up the illustration, I'll just share my screen on that way. So like I'll show them different screen level increasing. They'll see where we choose mid death benefit max cash, and then I'll just do like the quick view to show them like the numbers. So like it actually looks a little bit more like official in the sense that I can't email them anything. So like that's one thing that I recently changed over, and like I never get that objection, and my closing has gone up. So that's just like one thing I've changed recently.
Yeah, that's huge. So that's something that you guys can kind of take notes or we'll put the recording out. I know someone had asked me if this is being recorded, that we'll go get that done for you guys and, implement that, right? If that's an objection you're getting, right? Andy's not the only person to ever get that objection. So take what he's saying and kind of use that. Bryce, what about you? Anything that might be like a little bit of a secret sauce that you feel like has helped your closing?
Yeah, so I would say that I think I'm pretty good at my warm market. And one was like, probably coming from like an accounting background, people thought that I knew what I was doing, even though I didn't. But I was good at just kind of going out and just telling people like, hey, I can't sleep, I can't sleep at night knowing that I haven't asked you to if your family's protected. And so would it be okay to sit down and go over that? If not, I could just do like a review of what you have. Like, is there any way I can help you? Just making sure that every person I knew that I was there to help them. So then at some point they'll come back to me. And one of the things that I've been doing recently and is if there's like a demographic in mind that I know in my warm market, like for instance, 30-year-olds starting a family, like I'll create fake scenarios like, oh, I just sold a policy to a 30-year-old that just bought a house and like here now their house is protected. And then I'll like put that on my Snapchat story to my, 200, 300 friends that I know are that exact demographic. Or I'll ask people if I can like, hey, can I just run this by you? Like I want to make sure I'm pitching this correctly. And I'll run through an IUL with them and they'll be like, oh, like I can get one of those. Yeah, yeah, you can get one of those. This is like kind of for somebody similar to you. And it's like I had them in mind the whole time. So it's just kind of like two little things that I do with my warm market. Is one, just like make sure everybody knows like, hey, I'm still here. I know I've been doing this for 2 years. Like I've been protecting families and I want to make sure your family is protected. And then also like just dropping little subtle hints of like the people that you know need protection or are going to have these scenarios. I just post little snippets of like illustrations or hey, just got this. One of my friends just called and I got their grandma approved for a policy. Like make sure your grandmas are approved. Stuff like that is kind of what I do.
Yeah, no, I love that. And that's super, super important, you guys, because we have a lead-based model, a lot of times and we're nervous, like, right? I didn't really want to ask my family to get this stuff for me and things like that, and it can be uncomfortable. But so we got to find that balance, right? Like Bryce, that's really, really cool. And you guys should definitely take that and implement that on your own families as well. We get so used to leads. We're calling leads all day. Is your family protected or have you at least tried? So you kind of have to find that balance between I'm definitely uncomfortable and I don't want to have to sell my friends and family all the time, but there have been way too many scenarios where somebody at FFL, I've seen, they're an agent at FFL, ends up posting a GoFundMe because someone in their family passed away and they weren't covered. And it's like your brother or your sister or your niece or your uncle or whatever is literally a life insurance agent and didn't get you the coverage that they're getting everybody else. So I think that's super cool. Bryce, there's even some more people in my family or even my friends that, I definitely need to use that on and go make sure that that's super important. And again, guys, we don't, I know a lot of us are like, too, the carriers pay us different on controlled business. Bryce, you know that. You know that if you're related to them, you don't get paid the same, right? I told you that if you wrote a family member, I still love you guys, but I'm not giving you lead credit. So a lot of times we're not trying to discourage you. No one's trying to discourage you from protecting your family. They're trying to encourage you to protect them for the right reasons, right? So Bryce isn't out here getting his family protected. He's getting paid as earned when he does that because that's how the carriers do it. So he's willing to take an as earned commission as long as his family and his friends and the people close to him are protected. So talk about having a why that's bigger than money, right? So that's super cool, Bryce. I love that. Andy, anything that you think we left out or anything that you had on your notes that you really want to train on or really want to leave these guys with?
Mm, no, I think we got everything. I don't have anything else left.
Are you going to give us any Spanish or?
No, probably not. I guess I'll say one thing. This business is like 95% mental, like mentality. Like when people get in this, like it's just learning a new skill. You're gonna suck at it, just like if you would learning Spanish, playing the piano, whatever it is. It's just get through that first 6 to 9 months of just grinding, learning the skills, trial and error. After you kind of get through that, it's not easy, but it's a lot more smooth sailing. So yeah, I'd say develop your mentality of just kind of being able to get over the humps and kind of the downfalls. But for 6 9 months, grind and you'll get past that part.
I love that. Well, I think you guys have been amazing. I think that this is just such a straightforward and, let's just go out and do it and crush it. And I'm really proud of you guys. And, I can't thank you enough for hopping on with the team.
Appreciate it.
All right,
Thanks,
guys,
guys.
hop back on the phones. Thanks, Andy and Bryce. Let's crush it.